It says I'm going live, so I believe I'm going live. What's up, everybody? I'm sorry for the late video. I had to speak to a friend. I wanted to come on. I was ready to stream, and then boom, he hit me up. Needed a conversation, so I had to be there for him. Hope you all understand. But yeah, it was an exciting game in Carolina. I watched the whole thing from the rip to the end, and all the right people looked right. No major injuries to speak of, but obviously the story coming out of the game, as you guys know, I don't have to tell you, was Josh Allen, his early connection with Cole Beasley, and to me, one of his most impressive throws was one of his most kind of overlooked throws. The two to Sweeney got a lot of attention, got some breakdowns on Twitter from a guy who heavily criticized him. I even retweeted it. Dan Orlovsky, and then Brian Baldinger, who's always been a fan of his, was praising him for his pre-snap reads, his touch on the one pass to Sweeney, and then the pass down the middle to Sweeney that, him making the adjustments at the line and then hitting Sweeney in stride before Sweeney even turns his head around. If you go, they give you the slow-mo views because they have the all 22, and you see Sweeney's head's not even around it. The ball is out. It's like Allen's back foot hits the ground and his arm is already hit, the ball's coming out. It's just a beautiful thing to see. But the screen pass he threw to Beasley on the left side, and Beasley, I think he picked up a first down on that. It was just like a boom. Those little screens the Patriots always do. And I was just like, finally. But last year they tried a few of those, obviously not with a receiver the caliber of Cole Beasley, but Allen seemed to rush him. He either seemed to skip him or he seemed to overshoot him. And this time it was just right in Beasley's hands, boom. And then Beasley did those little underneath routes, those little quick hitter routes that we've always seemed to get killed on in those little third and medium areas. And it was really, really nice to see. There was one overshoot I think he had for McCoy, but overall he really, really looked good. He seemed to try to stay in the pocket, didn't scramble, just wanted to go through his progressions. He didn't use his legs. He used his legs to try to evade a little bit and keep his eyes downfield. He did throw one pass away, which was good. He was running towards the right sideline, the far sideline from the screen, threw it away. So it was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see. And I was just elated how well he looked in the game. The chat, I don't know if it's loading or if you guys are sending stuff. I'll say something in the chat. Let me see if it's working. Oh, it's working. What's up, Tim? How you doing, bro? It's fucking deluge here in New Jersey, man. It sucks. But I was just so happy to see, and even Barkley came in and looked sharp. He came in and looked sharp with the twos. But let's be honest, outside of those two, it's more and more apparent as he plays that Tyree Jackson needs a ton of work. Tyree Jackson, somebody tweeted this. I can't even take credit for it. You guys might have seen it. And that's another thing. I'm never going to take credit for what other people tweet. I wish I knew the guy's name. I'd shout him out. And it's very, very true what he said. He said Tyree Jackson is everything we were told that Josh Allen was supposed to be. He's got a huge arm. He's like this physical freak, and he just you don't know where the ball's going. You just do not know where the ball's going. Like and then one interception was kind of reminiscent of what Josh Allen did in Green Bay last year. It was such a bad interception, and Daboll really ripped into him on the sideline. He took him to task, and he's just gonna be a practice squad guy. There was kind of thoughts that he's not making the 53. This guy's going to be on the practice squad. Another positive from the game that I thought was great, Bills scored a touchdown on this, was Andre Roberts' 37-yard punt return. Yes. How many times last year were the Bills victimized on special teams, either muff punts by the Bills or other teams ripping off big returns, getting quick scores? It was just so demoralizing. And for us to do that to somebody else, even in a preseason setting, was money, and that's what they signed him for. That's what they brought him in for. So, and KJ getting a 70-yard INT return. I think it was Will Greer who threw it. He sat on that route and just boom, caught it and took off. Bills IR released DJ Gaines today. Pretty much cements his time with the Bills. This was his second stint, and the guy is just brittle. He's had one too many injuries. He just can't stay healthy, and availability is the only ability in sports. It really is, because if you're not available, it doesn't matter how talented you are, what you have to offer to a team, what kind of teammate you are or aren't. You're just taking up a roster spot. You're just taking up a jersey number. And they moved on from him. I don't really know what Captain Munnerlyn did in the game, but it was a pretty clean game. It was a clean week of practice. There was no fighting. There was no injuries. And that just speaks to, I'm going to get to him too in a minute. And that was good. That was good to see. Outside of the clip that made the rounds of Cam Newton, and Cam, I like Cam. I like the game to have personalities unique to different players. I don't need everybody to be a cookie cutter. I like different personalities. I know everybody thinks that a quarterback has to have this certain kind of personality, and that's just his personality. And Josh has his own personality. He's got a bigger personality than a lot of the quarterbacks that have been through Buffalo. I think one of the biggest personalities outside of him probably was Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick had a big personality, even though he didn't have big talent. Cam's Cam though. That's just who he is. And it was funny the way Oliver looked at him. He was like, "Yo, you need to shut the fuck up." But he didn't end up playing. I didn't think he was going to play. Kuechly sat out. All the guys from the Bills defense who didn't play last week played this week. Oliver had a batted pass in the game, and if you go back and watch that same play, Oliver batted down. If he doesn't bat that pass down, Jordan Poyer was going to pick that pass off, because Jordan Poyer was driving on that ball. He was coming downhill. He was going to pick that ball off, and it was going to be pick six, boom, right back into the end zone. And you could even see his reaction. He lost it when he saw Oliver had batted it down. Devin Singletary looked good again. He looked solid in short areas. And he's going to push for a lot of playing time. He really, really is. Sweeney looked really good. He had a big bounce back game with those 2 catches. And he's just one of those guys. He's not a great athlete. He's just a good football player. He's not a combine numbers guy. He's not a measurables guy in the sense that, he's got good size. He's a big guy, but he's not like a freak athlete for his size. That's more or less what I'm trying to get at. But I think he's a really good blocker, an underrated receiver, and he's a hard, diligent worker. He's a Jersey guy. He trained with Joe DeFranco up in Bergen County. I don't know if you know who Joe DeFranco is. He's a pretty famous trainer. He trains a lot of WWE guys, started with Triple H, and then, moved on to some of the Giants. Let's hope our linebackers stay healthy. We lack depth, but like I've been saying over and over, Chris, once that cut to 53 happens, there's going to be so many moving parts around the league. The Bills have 9th overall waiver claim, which is 13 better than last year, 13 spots better. So you go 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, so 13 places better. They're going to be able to get a couple of guys likewise they wouldn't get last year. So that's gonna really, really help, because they're gonna pick up a guy, and then still got to find out who the punter is. That's not so sexy, but like my man pointed out earlier, Duke Williams showed up, he played big, caught a big touchdown in the end zone. I believe he had another catch where he kind of just muscled the DB off, caught the ball, kind of violently ran after. So, he showed up big. He needs to. I don't think he makes the team per se, because I just think he's a little late in the game. He's 27. The top spots are pretty much spoken for. I mean, he's going to, be a gunner on special teams. I mean, I'd like for him to keep him. It depends on how many running backs they keep. I think they're going to keep 4 tight ends. Do they keep 8 offensive linemen, 9 offensive linemen? I happen to think they're going to keep 9, because I think that's how much they value offensive linemen. I really like the kid that they picked up with the trade from Philly, Ryan Bates. He was playing everywhere. They practiced him at tackle. He played at center. He played at guard. He was just everywhere. So if they have a guy like that and they valued him that much to trade for him, he's a Penn State guy. Like I said in my last video, he blocked for Saquon. He blocked for Miles Sanders, the top drafted back last year, and the second drafted, the highest drafted back this year. So I think he's a guy worth keeping around. I'm sorry, I turned off my AC so you didn't hear the echo in the background when I'm playing the video. It's fucking hot. It is muggy here in North New Jersey. It feels like a sauna, like in Florida. Just the humidity is just disgusting. I don't know where the rest of y'all at, Timothy or any of you guys, Chris, but it's just disgusting. Yeah, I like the way he looks, man. And Allen just, yeah, that's what he was doing, Joe. Joe, he was doing what I've been screaming. It's just so frustrating for all the years that we've had to sit and watch other teams just easy pitch and catch, yards, running for fun. Everywhere else just seems like the Bills never had that. And Beasley made a good point that if he gets me the ball as fast as he's getting me the ball before I even expect it, and I'm going to be able to do a lot of damage for him after the catch. And that's just, yeah, you're right off that lake, K Beats. That's why, man. You're right on that lake. I can only imagine. I remember when I was in Cleveland, and I was like, whew. Then I thought about it. I was like, that fucking lake. Oh, Jesus Christ. Isn't that where John Murphy's from, Lockport? I think that's where he's from. But I made a few notes. I was going to say, yeah, I know people are going to panic about Hauschka. Tim Graham wrote a piece. Tim Graham did a piece and spoke to Brandon Beane right after the game, actually, and the Athletic. And Beane said, he expects him to be fine. He's not worried about it. It's just one of those things that, he's done well for them in the past. He'll continue to do well for them. So it's not a story until it is a story. So, but you never know. You never know about these things. I just don't think it's a big deal. Tim is all about let's go Buffalo 100 in here. I hope you're not trolling, Tim, but I don't think you are. Daryl Johnson, he's gonna, I don't know, he's pushing to be on the team. Daryl Johnson was another guy. He's got a lot of quick off the edge. He, like, out of the other defensive ends in the second group, whether it's Mike Love or Yarborough, who looks like he's pretty much destined to be gone, Daryl Johnson he's got the best burst out of all those. And you just look at the guy's size and his measurables. He's a freak. He's a freak. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate it, bro. Christian Wade had his big, that was kind of crazy. I'm like, if this guy scores on this play, when he was running, I'm like, if he scores, everybody's going to lose their mind and be like, have him on they have him on the roster. I don't think he's going to make the roster. I think the practice squad guys are starting to round out. Thankfully, none of the guys who left the game from last week are long-term guys. One, Garrett McGinn was an ankle, and Cam Lewis was a shoulder, I believe, or a neck or something, like a contusion, which is a fancy word for a bruise, I would say, because I saw in the Cam Lewis hit, this old guy ran into him after the tackle, and he was down. He got the worst of the tackle other than the Panther, and he got up. I thought he had hurt his neck. He didn't hurt his neck, thankfully. And when they took McGinn off the cart, I was like, shit. Because I don't want to see nobody, go out like that. And I really like that kid. He plays all over the line. He was at East Carolina. He played a little bit with Zay Jones, and he played center. He's another guy, played center, guard, tackle. He was at right tackle when he got injured. So he's a guy I'd like for them to keep. I'd really like them to keep him around somehow, some way, because Vlad's finally gone. Bodine's probably going to be gone. So they're going to need some young guys with versatility and better than what they had. I mean, I don't think it can be any worse, but you never know. You never know. But I mean, the excitement amongst Allen around him is fever pitch right now. And I know it's preseason. I know it's early, but he looks good. He looks the part. He looks the part, and he's playing the part. And it's so exciting. What's up? How you doing, bro? Yeah, 4 tight ends. Groff to PUP. Sweeney would, yeah, he's yeah, I did, man, Zachary. He looks like a project. He looks like a project quarterback. That's just what he looks like. He looks like one of those, you hear about those guys draft time, big, raw, athletic specimen, but he's going to need a couple of years to develop. That's who does that shit. Who does that voice? Is it Kuiper who does it like that? Yeah, it's Kuiper. That's what he is. He's that kid that's like that 2.5, 3 year guy that, you know what, see what you have in 2 to 3 years. And what's up, Damager? How you doing, bro? You see what you have, but man, there's some throws out there. He doesn't look like he can hit the ass end of a barn. And then there's other ones. It's like they look beautiful because he's pretty decisive and he's a runner. He's so long. His limbs are fucking huge. But he looks like a practice squad quarterback. I mean, his running ability and his arm is nice. Like, he'll be a great scout team guy. He can give the Bills all kinds of looks, whether it's a running look, a pocket quarterback look. So I'm all for keeping him around. Well, I like the pecking order of the quarterbacks, Like, I like the quarterback pecking order. It's like Josh Allen is the starter. He is the unquestioned starter. Nobody's screaming to see Matt Barkley. And Matt Barkley is the total locked in backup quarterback. And he is totally fine with that. He's content with that. He knows his role. He's good at it. He's efficient. He gets the ball out on time. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He doesn't have the physical attributes Allen does, but he has the acumen and the attitude and the composure that you want in a veteran quarterback. You saw last year, he can come in, win a game in a pinch, make the offense look requisite, above average even. So that's what you want. So there's it's not like there's Tyrod Taylor. The fan base is like, we love Tyrod, and there's other half of the fan base is like, we can do better than Tyrod. We want better than Tyrod. And I'm sure Allen still has his detractors amongst Bills fans and stuff like that. That's normal. Like I've said many, many times, I remember, and this is well before social media, there was people that wanted Reich over Kelly. There was Bills fans that were totally on board with, you know what, we keep Reich and get rid of Kelly now because Kelly was a jerk and all that kind of stuff. He wasn't the nicest guy, but once Reich went out on his own and, was not with the best teams, he was a backup quarterback who had to start. He wasn't that great. He was okay, but he wasn't Kelly caliber, that's for sure. So, but about Allen, he's, again, he's going to make his mistakes. I'm sure some will come in, but he's looking the way he is right now. It's very encouraging. It's very, very encouraging. The running back position, I want to see more of Devin Singletary. I really, really do. I really want to see more of him. And they're trying to feature him in the passing game. I've noticed they've really worked him in those little wheel routes, and just they're trying to work because they know what his running ability is. They know what he is in a phone booth, and they love it. But they want to see him, feature him more in the passing game, and this is the time to work on that. So that's what they did in the Carolina game, I noticed, because their linebackers are pretty fast. So I think they wanted to get a look of him in a real game setting against some quick linebackers. I think he had one catch. Not quite sure what he did. He should be getting some props. He got props on Twitter today from a guy who was a huge detractor of his, and Dan Orlovsky, about, he made a clip last year before Josh Allen was drafted about how Josh Allen didn't know his pre-snap keys, and the running back did on Wyoming, and it was like there was a bunch of confusion during and post play. Allen didn't know what the hot was, and the running back did. The running back went to pick it up. Allen thought the running back was going to leak out. He didn't. So there was a big mess. Yeldon looked good last week, and they featured him a lot. They were running him a lot. What I'm going to look for is, see, to me, Yeldon is a guy that I think they can work with, and I think Perry is what he is. I think Perry's a special teams guy. I don't think, Baldy's a huge fan of his, Joe. I don't think Perry figures in getting in-game carries. I think he's a guy that's probably going to be a core special teamer. So I'm not worried about his. I don't want nobody fumbling, but I think he's going to make the team, to be quite honest with you. I really do. And I wouldn't be shocked now how McCoy ends up in this whole equation, because to me, McCoy's an all or nothing guy. He's your feature running back, 15 to 18 touches a game, probably about 30 snaps, or he's nothing. You can't have him around. You can't have him toiling on the sideline, pouting and being a malcontent, and he will do that. It's not a knock against him. It's just who he is. He's going to get antsy if he's not playing and starting. And next week is going to tell a lot who the starting line is, what the running back rotation looks like, how long do they play, because that's the dress rehearsal game. And it's going to be fun to learn all this stuff, but it's also going to be nerve-wracking as fuck, hoping nobody gets injured for 2.5 quarters. That's for sure, because that's generally how these games go. These games are going to go, the starters are going to be in there for 2 quarters, maybe a series or 2 after in the third, and then they get pulled. I really hope. That's I don't think that's happening, Trevor. I think, like I just said, I think McCoy is an all or nothing guy. You're either all in on McCoy or you're not. You cannot have him on the bench in no shape or form. Making that money, knowing how he's going to be, you just can't do it. Yeah, Feliciano looks solid. I think they like him better at guard, but I also think they like him better as the swing guy inside, either guard or center. Long looks like he's probably going to be the starting right guard. Don't quote me on it. I think that's probably the way they're leaning. Again, don't quote me on it. I don't know anything. I think Ford is going to be the starting right tackle. Morse will probably be held out this week, and then they'll make sure he's probably going to clear concussion. I can almost guarantee he'll clear concussion protocol right after the third game. He'll come out of it. I don't know if they'll let him play in the preseason though. I think they want to keep him. They just want to make sure they have him for the regular season. They invested a lot of money in this offseason. They don't want to risk anything. He clears it. He's gonna be the starting center. Obviously, we know what the left side looks like: Dawkins and Spain, and Secchi's the swing. Yeah, he's a young guy. I mean, McCoy's got a lot, mileage on the tires. No, I don't think they will be. I don't think they'll allow themselves to be, but they're going to say all the right things in the media too. They're not going to throw the player under the bus, and they're not going to start a controversy just to edify the media. Bean is going to support him and say he's our guy, and we, he's the starter, and that's what he's going to do. He's not going to do anything to rock the boat, and nor should he, because this regime doesn't do shit like that. What's up, Eric? How you doing, bro? Yeah, he did. And I think they thought he was the guy maybe that they were going to be able to do a practice squad deal with, but Croft's injury, the way he's played, Knox went down, and Sweeney's taken advantage of the opportunity, and I think he's going to be a lock to be on the 53. Bonzolo, what is it? Bonzalo. I think it's Bonzalo. Okay. I hate mispronouncing people's names. Yeah, I don't think he's going to go this week. I think Kroom is a lock to play this week because Kroom did a lot more in practice today than Knox, but Knox was out there. I think they were both in red jerseys though, but today's practice was it was shorts. I don't even think they had helmets on. They just had shorts. They wanted to give the guys a little bit of a chill. It was almost walkthrough. I wouldn't even call it a practice. It was really a walkthrough what they did today. They didn't thud. They just kind of like went through the motions. Just really did install type shit. Nothing, not a lot of running hard, not a lot of stop and go stuff. I think because they just want to get the guys' legs fresh. They have a quick turnaround. They go from a Friday to a Thursday, I believe. I think that's when the third game is. Don't quote me on it. Let me see. If you guys can put it in the chat quicker than I can find it, let me know, because I'm terrible with so I should know this stuff, but I don't sometimes, because the way this is staggered, some games are on today. They've got a game going on right now, so it's a Friday game. Okay, so there's a full body in between. That's good. But still, I don't want them blowing their legs out anyway for some bullshit like this. And the second those starters leave that field on Friday, and hopefully they're all healthy, I am going to be like, because I don't want to see any of these guys going down and doing this bullshit. Levi Wallace is going to start, and Munnerlin's going to be probably the main backup for slot. Taron Johnson's the starting slot, and then Kevin Johnson's going to be the main backup at either corner spot for Trey White and Levi Wallace. And then Kurt Coleman's the third safety behind Poyer and Hyde. Yeah, because he's a legs guy, man. Smoke is a legs guy. He's a runner. And the way they GPS these players now, Eric, I don't know if you know this, when you put on an NFL jersey, and they've taken a lot of things from soccer. I'll tell you guys this, the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA was more into it at first, and then the NFL kind of just blew past them just because of the size of the rosters and all the players. When you get a legit NFL jersey, there's a slit right here. It's a slit. It's like a little pocket. And they put the GPS. It's very small. It's like this. They put the GPS in there. And so when these guys are darting all over the place and running and shit, they're just being tracked. They do it in practice too. They have it in their jerseys in practice. They give it to the strength and conditioning staff. They plug it in, and they're like, yo, we want to back off this guy. This guy ran this amount, and we're kind of like, they kind of kind of try to guess what his load is gonna be like during the season. So they don't want to, obviously they don't want to do it during preseason anyway. Plus it's hot. They don't want him tweaking nothing, because guys who are twitchy and run like him, you don't want them tweaking shit in the heat, like a leg or a quad, the hammy that's gonna linger on for weeks and weeks, and you're so close to the season, you don't want to risk that. Sorry for the long-winded soliloquy about that, but that's pretty much what they do now. Because the NBA because soccer, that's all they do, and they GPS the hell out of those guys. Yeah, Gaines got released from IR. Yeah, you can't have guys who are always injured. You just can't do it. You cannot have guys who are always in the tub and he seems to have a chronic groin problem. It seems to be his Achilles heel is his adductor and groin constantly gets tweaked. I don't know if he needs some sort of evasive surgery, or he's just not made to play NFL football, because he's a talented guy. Like, he works hard. He does all the right things. He says all the right things. I remember he got hurt in Atlanta and still forced a fumble, on that hurt. It was like, hats off to you, man. Yeah, Jones and Foster are going to be on the team. They'll be on the team. I'm not worried about that. I think the top 5 receivers are pretty much a lock, with Brown, Beasley, Foster, Zay Jones, and Andre Roberts. Now, I think the way it's looking, Isaiah McKenzie's going to be the 6th, and I think he should. He was more productive. He came in mid to late last year, made more plays, and Ray McCloud, they drafted him, but he didn't take it as seriously as he needed to last year. They were hurting for playmakers. They were hurting for guys to do. We all know how bad they were hemorrhaging at wide receiver. And, he muffed a couple of punts. He wasn't on his P's and Q's. No, he's not making the roster. So I think maybe they try to sneak him through for the practice squad. I don't know, but guy could get claimed. The Vikings look like shit, by the way. I don't want to talk shit about other teams, but they just don't look good. Kirk Cousins never scared me as a quarterback. Yeah, he looked good, and he was against the 2s and 3s, but I just don't think he's going to make the team, just because his age. He's going to be mainly a special teams guy, and that's probably going to be left for Andre Roberts, and then Isaiah McKenzie does a lot of punt returning already. Looks like a really good slot guy, jet sweep guy. He's been making plays downfield too. He made a really nice play in the Carolina game downfield. I know, and it's hard to judge the quarterbacks when the wide receivers when Jackson is in, because he's just so erratic. He's just so erratic with his passing. When Jackson is just throwing the ball all over the place, you can't evaluate the wide receivers correctly. I think he didn't get paid this year. I just don't think Cousins is good enough. It's not, any of their other players. I just don't think Cousins a good enough quarterback. Oh, and another thing I wanted to say. This was a thing I wanted to hit on. I wanted to hit on the last video, but I didn't. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, the move you don't make is better than the one you might have. Antonio Brown. Mad, and it was never as close or never near what everybody had made it out to be, or what Ian Rapoport shit had reported. It never even got to that point. It was a conversation, and that was it. Imagine, just imagine it had. What a mess. What a fucking disaster. The people in Pittsburgh, like even when Le'Veon Bell, who hasn't played in over a year, isn't playing the preseason, just doesn't shut the fuck up. He just doesn't stop talking. And every time he tweets about how he's going to be ready and pay this guy his money, and then Antonio is he's upset about this, and he frostbites his own feet in a cryo chamber. He can't have a helmet, and he doesn't want to play without the helmet, and then and the way all the pundits and talking heads are just handing that division over to the Browns, and even some of them who are just hot to trot, and it just drives me fucking crazy because if I talk about this, I'll go off on a tangent. How even certain people who cover the Bills directly or indirectly, they'll wax poetic about Lamar Jackson running, but then they'll condemn and bitch about Josh Allen running. You don't see the hypocrisy. These own people, when they say one thing out of the side of one of their mouth and then bitch about the same thing out the other side of their mouth. It's like, you can't have it both ways. Well, Ben won Super Bowls without those two, dude, Eric, and it's a hell of a lot easier to replace. Ben's been getting wide receivers paid for over a decade, bro. He got Plax paid. He got Mike Wallace paid. He got Antoine Randall paid. He got Santonio Holmes paid. He's gotten a lot of guys paid, but none of them had, Plax won with the Giants. But outside of that, none of them else won shit. Ben was a racist. Remember that Ben was supposedly a racist. Ben was this, he was that. He'll show up again, and then he'll conserve himself. That's what he'll do. He'll conserve himself because that's what guys do. Yeah, he has a history of shit, no doubt about that, Eric. And if he would have pulled what he pulled back in 2007 with the motorcycle and the girl in Aspen and the girl down in Atlanta, he probably wouldn't be in the league. He probably wouldn't have been playing football anymore if he would pull that in today. It was an ugly situation where a girl was yelling to be not where she was with him, and his security people were holding her friends back, and they were in a VIP area. And they were pretty close in proximity in terms of time. They were like two months apart. Like one situation happened in February, and the next situation happened in like mid-April or early May, something like that. So then he had just gotten in a motorcycle accident. So it was a big mess. Yeah, it would be horrific, and the Bills would be a joke, and it'd be the bumbling Bills, and they're just like, what did they do? But he did come to Buffalo. He went out to California. He went to the Raiders. It was a big move. Everybody was kind of like, oh, this and that. And John Gruden, John Gruden will go bring a guy like that into his organization, but he won't pay a guy like Khalil Mack to be on his team. That is, I've never seen a more overrated guy in the NFL than John Gruden. John Gruden is a personality. He's a persona. He's no longer a coach to me. He's in love with his playbook. He's in love with his X's and O's, his verbiage. And I think the league has passed him by. It passed him by over a decade ago. And that he's always been, though, and he's going to be, and you see where he allocates most of the resources on the football team too. They're on the offense. Mac's a defensive guy. He gets rid of his best defensive player, his best quality guy, and they only get 8 sacks last year. You know, but he was saying they weren't any good with him anyway, so not pay him. You know, that's messy. That's a messy situation. And meanwhile, Gruden's making $100 million. What other coach in the NFL makes $100 million? None. He does. Why? I don't get it. You know, he won a Super Bowl over a decade ago. I know Dick Vermeil came back after a long layoff with the Eagles. Like, he was with the Eagles, he took them to the Super Bowl, left, came back and was with the Rams and won the Super Bowl with Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, all those guys. But those situations rarely ever happen. Like, Mike Ditka came back a few years after he was with the Bears with the Saints, and that was a disaster. Yeah, he's just in the booth. He doesn't want to coach anymore. His wife passed away, Kay, back in 06 or 07. She had cancer, and he's just yeah, he likes to do the CBS stuff, and he was never interested in coaching again. Mark Davis is the ugliest man in the world. Mark Davis is literally the ugliest man alive. He's held that title for several years. I won't move off of it. He's hideous. All the money in the world can't fix that face. It's just, he's horrendous. He might be one of the nicest men in the world, but he is just wretched to look at. And he's married. God, the wonders a wallet can give. Yeah, it's just, he's got nothing going on, man. He's got nothing going on. He's like a case of they kept the afterbirth and threw the baby away. He's just really not has no redeeming quality. Most owners are not good looking men anyway, but boy, he's a special type of ugly. But you guys, you sound amped about Allen as much as I am. It's funny, we don't really talk about the defense much because we just kind of like, they were the second ranked unit last year, even after a few rough patches in the start and in the middle a little bit, mainly getting worked because, you know, they had Derek Anderson and Peterman playing quarterback, and those games were hell. I remember those stretch of games, they were just hell. Notice how much better the stream looks? Because I'm streaming through YouTube. I'm not streaming through the webcam to YouTube. I'm using the webcam, but direct to YouTube. So it's so much better for me. Like, I don't see any hesitation with me. Yeah, Jets lost Avery Williams. That's huge. That's a week one. They're not going to have Herndon. I don't know if Kalichi, the offensive lineman they got from the Raiders, I don't know if he's going to be back. He tweaked it back, but I don't know if he played. If you know, correct me. I know Tremaine Johnson is pretty gimpy. He hasn't practiced. He hasn't played in the preseason. So I don't know what kind of squad that they're going to field at MetLife Stadium when the Bills come there. But they might be a little dinged up. But I don't want to talk because the Bills got some work and some bullshit preseason games to finish and some practices. So I don't want to put the cart before the horse. You know what I mean? So I'll reserve my judgment once the 53 gets cut, once they get to the practice week. But it's, you know, yeah, Gaines got released earlier today from IR, and once he's healthy, he's free to sign with another team. That's generally what happens. You know, that's generally what happens in these situations, because what they want to do is give the player the best chance to catch on with another team. And I want you guys to watch. Another thing I want you to watch for, in this will happen. Look for veterans who are playing late in game 3. And specifically look for veterans who are playing in the second half of the last preseason game. Those guys are likely to get cut. So if you see a guy playing late in preseason, like game number 4, that's a veteran that you think is safe, I don't think he's safe. I think he's probably a lock to be gone. So just always note who's playing in the second half of that game, because you know nobody worth their salt is starting that game. Allen's in bubble wrap. Ed Oliver's in bubble wrap. Tremaine Edmonds in bubble wrap. Trey White's in bubble wrap. You know, Cole Beasley's in bubble wrap. So the two safeties are in bubble wrap. You know, the Jerry Hughes in bubble wrap. So who's my biggest surprise cut? I'm going to be honest with you right now. Of course you want me to be honest. That's the stupidest saying ever. Sorry I said that. I think LeSean McCoy. No, Foster's on the roster, bro. They're not getting rid of him. I think it's going to be LeSean. I think he's going to he's a first-round pick that never, double-digit sacks, and he was from another regime, and he's a backup now, so it always stands to reason, but I think it's going to be LeSean. The way Singletary has looked, they're going to keep Gore. I really think they're going to keep Yeldon. They signed him to a 2-year deal, and they ran him a lot. He ran angry last week. He caught a nice pass. I think they're going to look to trade him, possibly. He might get swung for like a 5th or something, conditional 4th, maybe to a Charger team. But I think he's the guy. I think if you look at it right now, the way it looks, I think he's probably the guy. No. I mean, there's Coleman, there's Latulele. Who are the other Panthers? I mean, they've had incremental guys come through. I mean, Munnerlyn, those are mostly people that are familiar with McDermott in the defense more so than anything because of injuries. Munnerlyn's not there. If EJ Gaines is healthy and still, he wouldn't have been signed. Coleman was a guy they signed late, might have retired. He's a third safety. No, I don't think that at all. Those are old players who are just depth guys. I don't think that's the case. I just think they fit the culture. They know what the expectations are, and they're just, a lot of fans are fickle about that stuff. But if you go out there throughout the history of the league, all head coaches do that stuff. I remember when Bill Belichick took over from the Browns, from the Giants. He was the defensive coordinator, went to the Browns. What do you think happened over the years? Guys like Pepper Johnson, Myron Guyton, guys who had history with him over the years with the Giants came over to that team. I remember even when he was with Parcells was in New England, Guyton stopped in New England. I believe he had Dave Meggett there. He had a few other guys. Names escape me right now, but that just happens. It's just par for the course. At this point in camp, you don't want to have guys who come in and don't know what they're doing. Like, hey, I don't. Not that they're stupid, not that they can't pick it up, but Coleman still has some life left in him. I think he's still a good player, and he's a guy who's used to starting in the league. He's been a really high quality starter, and if one of the other safeties have to miss a game or two, he's good enough to come in and fill the void. So it's a solid pickup because the safeties before that. Oh, this guy, Jaquan Johnson, I think is going to be a decent player because he almost had an interception this week, and he's not the biggest guy, but he flies around. He just flies around and makes plays. Now, outside of that, I just don't know if there's any other surprise cuts to make. Because I think at this point, the only surprise cut, but it's the cut to me that makes the most sense, just the way it looks to me. He did well on the pass reception he had against Carolina. We'll say that he had a little quick burst, got a first down, but I don't know. I just think that is that enough to keep you on the roster at $6 million? Not that it matters, not that they need it, but $6 million is $6 million, That's huge, Eric, because that's what they use. That's what all good teams do. Look at Seattle, look how they built their defense. Richard Sherman, Chancellor, all those guys. I mean, Wagner was the second round pick, not a late round pick, but the bulk of their defensive guys, some of the key ones were late round draft picks, guys that were brought in late. I don't think Yeldon's going. They signed him to a 2-year deal. He's a pass receiver. He's a good third down blocker. I know he had the fumble, and he can't always be reactionary. A lot of times, I think that's his first carry. First carry in a while in a preseason game. I don't think he plays special teams. I think that's going to be Perry's. So if you're to me, the way it looks, it's going to be Gore, Singletary, Yeldon, and Perry, and DeMarco. If they cut the roster and they're honest, I think that's what they would do. Just because I think, and McDermott will come out and handle it well. He'll be like, Shady was a huge part of what we built here and how we started, and we'll never forget how he came back from the Miami injury to play in the preseason game, the playoff game, and how he did everything to get there and did all the right things. That's going to happen. He's going to say that stuff. But I just don't see why you keep him, especially if Singletary's doing well, especially if you hear Bean talk about Gore. You hear about all the players talk about him, how he's pretty much the leader now. Are they going to put the captaincy on McCoy again? What if they don't? I don't even think he cares, but he's going to be because he's going to stick on special teams. That's how he's sticking. When you have a special teams as bad as the Bills did, he's going to stick on that unit. No. He's going to play on all 4 coverage units and return units. So you play those downs just as much as you do your base defense and your base offense. Those can be impactful. I think Bojorquez wins the job unless they go out. Hey, they could go. I hear there's a lot of people there's some teams in bad kicker trouble, man. The Bears are in bad kicker trouble. The Browns are in bad kicker trouble. So I don't want to see people cutting Hauschka either. He'll stretch during the yeah, McCoy, he played well for the Bills. I'm not going to knock him. He's still on the team. If he's there, he's there. But to me, if he's not, it's not going to be a shock in the least. It's not going to be a shock in the least. That's like the two biggest guys in Buffalo sports who are like almost chopping block guys right now. It's Ristolainen for the Sabres and McCoy for the Bills. It's like it almost feels like it's inevitable. You just don't know when it's going to happen. You just don't know when you're going to get the proverbial text alert like, hey, this guy's been released or cut, because it just feels like it's coming. But I don't know what. I think McCoy did something during an anthem that really upset Bills fans, and I didn't see that part because I think the fans in the stands in the stadium saw it more obviously than I did, or he was doing something. Yeah, they've signed like 6, and they've cut like a bunch. They signed some. For some people, it matters, man. And I'm not going to knock anybody for we don't need one. People want the kicker. People just want to cut people. They're like, oh, McLaughlin's better than this guy. I remember last week it was like everybody wanted to cut Zay. Everybody wanted to cut Robert Foster. I was like, what the fuck? Because Ray and like, no, they've done nothing to supplant those guys. Zay led the team in touchdown receptions, and Foster was top 10 in most dynamic receiver advanced stats for the last 6 weeks of the season. There's no way in hell you cut that guy. I don't know who you're talking about. Last comment. Hit the uprights. You're talking about Hauschka? No, It's going to be tough to tell. He only had four. I think he had four reps last year in preseason. He had 4 reps. He had 4 reps in preseason. He had 4 reps last year. So it is going to be hard to tell. It's just something that's going to happen. It's just something that's it's just going to happen. We're not going to, it's just, that's how they're going to do it. Just boom. We're going to see the Schefter tweet because his agent, I think his agent is Rosenhaus. I think his agent is Rosenhaus. And I think he's Kuiper's agent. And he's also Schefter's agent. So we'll just see the tweet. We'll just see the tweet. And it'll be like the Bills are releasing. Remember when they released Fred? That was like, Fred just had that big run against Pittsburgh. Everybody was going crazy. And then, boom, they released him. I was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. But let me know if you guys hear this echo because it's really fucking hot here. If you hear that AC, let me know. Because I can hear it. So I think it's going to bother the video too. So if you hear it, just say something in the chat and I'll kill it. I think Bojorquez is going to be the punter. I just think the whole special teams unit, the whole special teams was fucked last year, from the coaching, from the players that played it, the schemes that they played. It was just fucked. There was no return game. There was no coverage game. The punting was terrible. The holding situation became a mess. Fucked up Hauschka after he took that hit from Henry Anderson. It was just a mess. So I can't knock them for anything changes they want to make. Okay. Yeah, he looks, you know what it is I've noticed about the changes in the coaches? They're younger coaches who have played in the league, either played in the league or they're a lot closer in age to the guys who played in the league. I don't know. John's always going to toe the company line, Eric. John's gonna toe the company line. He works for the Bills, and he's always in that spot. That's the spot he's in. He's the voice of the Bills, and he's gonna sing to the team, And you know what? The way the Bills are, it's like they're gonna be here 2 weeks in a row, MetLife, and week 2 they're facing this year's version of Josh Allen, even though he's not gonna play. But probably not. But Daniel Jones is this year's version of Josh Allen. He's going to suck. He was overdrafted. He's not good. And he's come out and looked okay in these preseason games. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know, man. If he thought that special teams unit was good or not that bad, I mean, they had some fucking moments where they cost them the game. The muff punt in Miami, if they don't muff the punt, let's just say they hold the punt, they don't gain an out in a yard. They gave them the ball back on the Bills like 30. They went and scored a touchdown. That's the game. The one in Houston, the Bills were winning. I believe they were winning. Then, no, it was the muff. The Bills held them. They muffed it, and they scored off of that. They score. I forget how that whole sequence happened, but I know it was Saran Neal ran into Ray McCloud. That's what I remember, and they scored off of it. It was just, it killed the game. Yeah, give them a chance. It's just disgusting because they talk about him here like a dog, dude. They really do. It's just really tough. But I hope he succeeds because I like to see all naysayers get their face rubbed in it. But guys, I'm gonna let you go. It's past 10. It's a Sunday night. I'm gonna watch the rest of this Vikings Seahawks game. I love all you guys. Thanks for coming in. I'm so apologetic about that not coming in after the game because I was so excited to come in, and then I'm literally like this. I'm gonna stream. I'm like ready to click on start stream, and then my friend calls me, and I was like, why would person be calling me at this time? I had to take the call and see what was up. They needed to talk. It was one of those deals. I was like, I was in that spot. So, you know, don't hate on. I mean, I'm an asshole for not doing the stream earlier, but thank you guys for all coming in. I appreciate it, spending all this time with me. Thank you so much. That's why Bills fans are great, man. Bills fans are the most underrated, best fan base that haven't had a lot of success, but are still turning up, showing up, supporting, always representing the practices down there in Spartanburg. Like I said in the last stream, that's ridiculous. No other fan base does that shit. All these other fan bases get a lot of fluff and a lot of hype and this and that. New England's fan base is trash. Got nothing on the Bills fan base. They're all a bunch of fair weather fucking fans. Jet fans are fickle. They can either come or go. If the team's not good, they're not around. But if the team is good, they're all about it. Giant fans are pretty loyal, but then again, they've had Super Bowls. I'm going to talk a lot of shit right now because I feel like I'm in that mood. Dolphin fans are non-existent. So Bills got the best fan base in the AFC East. I know that shit. But all right, guys, have a great one. Best fan base in the AFC East, AFC, NFL. Take care. Have a great night. Love you guys.